For decades, Steven Tyler has been more than just a rock star. He has been a symbol of survival, excess, reinvention, and raw charisma. From sold-out stadiums to public struggles that could have ended his career more than once, Tyler always seemed to come back stronger. That's why the latest news surrounding him has sent shockwaves through fans around the world. This time, it isn't about controversy or rumors from the past. It's about reality catching up in a way no one expected. Quiet statements, sudden changes, and noticeable absences have raised serious questions that can no longer be brushed aside as speculation. Longtime supporters are now confronting a difficult truth. Something has fundamentally changed. What makes this moment so unsettling is how carefully it unfolded. There was no dramatic announcement. No single headline that explained everything. Instead, the signs appeared: slowly missed appearances, altered plans, and a tone of finality that felt unfamiliar. For an artist known for defying limits, this shift feels especially heavy. Those closest to Steven Tyler have chosen their words carefully, emphasizing respect, privacy, and reflection. But between those lines lies a story that fans deserve to understand. Not to judge, but to process what this means for an artist whose voice shaped generations. In this video, we'll break down what's really going on with Steven Tyler, why the news has hit so hard, and what this moment reveals about legacy, age, and the cost of a life lived at full volume. Because when the music slows down, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. For much of his life, Steven Tyler has lived in defiance of limits. Limits of age, of expectation, and of survival itself. Fans grew accustomed to seeing him return from moments that seemed final, each comeback louder, brighter, and more defiant than the last. That long history is exactly why the recent developments have felt so different. This time, the tone isn't rebellious. It's reflective. What first unsettled longtime observers wasn't a single announcement, but a pattern. Schedules changed quietly. Appearances were adjusted. Language shifted from excitement to caution. For an artist whose presence has always been unmistakable, the absence spoke louder than any headline ever could. The news didn't arrive with shock, it settled in with weight. Those close to Tyler emphasized that this moment isn't about scandal or failure. It's about reality. Decades of performing at the highest intensity leave marks, even on those who seem indestructible. Tyler himself has long been open about the physical and emotional toll of a life spent on the edge. What's different now is the acknowledgement that some things can't simply be powered through. Fans noticed that when Tyler did appear, there was a new stillness, not weakness awareness. The playful unpredictability remained, but it was tempered by deliberation. Every movement seemed intentional, every word chosen carefully. For someone who once thrived on chaos, this measured presence felt unfamiliar and deeply human. What makes this news especially difficult is the emotional connection people feel to Tyler's voice. His music wasn't just entertainment. It became part of personal histories. Road trips, heartbreaks, triumphs, all carried by a sound that felt eternal. Confronting change in that voice feels like confronting time itself. Industry insiders have described this period as a crossroads rather than an ending. Tyler isn't disappearing. He's reassessing. That distinction matters. There's a difference between stepping away and slowing down. Yet, for fans who grew up believing the music would never stop, even slowing down feels heavy. Another layer to this story is how carefully Tyler has protected meaning over spectacle in recent years. Where younger artists chase constant visibility, Tyler has grown selective. He has spoken before about wanting to leave the right impression, not just a loud one. That philosophy frames the current moment less as loss and more as intention. What's also becoming clear is that Tyler understands the impact of his choices on those who love his work. Silence can worry fans, but false reassurance would be worse. The measured communication suggests respect for the audience, for the legacy, and for himself. That restraint signals maturity earned through survival. There's a tendency to frame moments like this as tragic, but that overlooks the resilience already proven. Tyler has faced eras that could have ended his story entirely. Each time he adapted. This moment isn't about defeat, it's about recognition. Recognition that longevity requires honesty. As conversations grow louder online, one truth stands out. People aren't reacting with disappointment. They're reacting with care. That alone says everything about the bond between artist and audience. Steven Tyler didn't just perform for fans, he grew up with them. This first part of the story isn't about conclusions. It's about context. About understanding why this news feels heavier than past scares. And why it signals a shift rather than a shock. And perhaps the most important thing to understand right now is this: when someone who has spent a lifetime shouting finally speaks softly. It's worth listening. As the conversation around Steven Tyler grew, a clearer picture began to form, not of a sudden collapse, but of a long road finally reaching a pause. Those who have followed his career closely know that Tyler has spent decades pushing his body and voice beyond what most performers ever attempt. What's coming to light now is not a single incident, but the cumulative weight of a lifetime lived at maximum intensity. Tyler has never hidden the reality of wear and tear. Over the years, he openly acknowledged injuries, surgeries, and moments when continuing to perform required careful management rather than raw willpower. The difference today is that the margin for recovery has narrowed. What once required rest now requires reconsideration. That shift is subtle, but profound. Sources close to the situation have emphasized that this moment is about preservation, not panic. Tyler is not reacting to fear, he's responding to experience. The decades on stage taught him how quickly pushing through pain can turn into permanent damage. Choosing restraint now reflects wisdom rather than surrender. Fans have also noticed how Tyler's perspective on legacy has evolved. In earlier years, survival itself felt like the victory. Now meaning has taken center stage. He has spoken about wanting his final chapters to reflect intention, dignity, and gratitude rather than exhaustion. That mindset reframes the news entirely. Another important element is Tyler's relationship with his voice. Unlike instruments, voices age visibly and audibly. Tyler has always treated his voice with both reverence and risk. It defined his identity. Protecting it now is an act of respect for everything it has carried. Silence in this context becomes a form of care. There is also the emotional weight of knowing when to listen to limits. For performers whose identity is inseparable from the stage, stepping back can feel like losing a part of themselves. Tyler's willingness to face that truth openly shows vulnerability rarely seen at his level of fame. It takes strength to acknowledge change without dramatizing it. What's striking is the response from fans. Instead of outrage or denial, many have expressed understanding. That reaction speaks volumes. People aren't demanding more, they're appreciating what has already been given. That mutual respect between artist and audience is rare, and it didn't happen by accident. Industry veterans have described this phase as a recalibration. Tyler isn't closing doors, he's choosing which ones still deserve energy. That distinction matters. Creativity doesn't disappear with age. It adapts. The stage may change, but expression continues in other forms. Another layer often overlooked is how Tyler's journey has influenced younger artists. By modeling honesty rather than bravado, he sets a different example, one where longevity isn't measured by denial, but by adaptation. That lesson may become one of his most lasting contributions. What makes this news feel not good isn't tragedy, it's finality creeping into a space that once felt endless. Fans aren't grieving loss yet. They're grieving certainty. The certainty that Steven Tyler would always be there, always louder than time itself. But certainty was never the real gift. Presence was. And that presence, even if transformed, still exists. This part of the story isn't about what's ending. It's about what's being protected. A voice, a legacy, and a lifetime of connection that deserves care rather than collapse. As Steven Tyler navigates this quieter phase, the conversation has shifted from speculation to understanding. What once felt like shocking news now feels more like a reckoning, one that many artists eventually face, but few confront publicly. Tyler's openness, even in restraint, has reframed the narrative from loss to legacy. One of the most revealing aspects of this moment is how Tyler has chosen reflection over explanation. He hasn't flooded the public with details or reassurances. Instead, he has allowed space for acceptance. That choice speaks volumes about maturity. When words are used sparingly, their meaning deepens. Tyler's career has always been defined by extremes: extreme sound, extreme presence, extreme emotion. Now, the contrast itself becomes meaningful. The quiet doesn't erase the noise that came before it. It honors it. Each pause acknowledges the decades that demanded everything his body and voice could give. Those close to Tyler describe a man who remains creatively engaged, even if the output looks different. Ideas still flow. Curiosity remains. The shift isn't about disappearance, it's about direction. Creative energy no longer needs to prove itself on a stage night after night. It can exist in reflection, mentorship, and selective expression. There's also a personal truth Tyler appears to be embracing. Identity doesn't vanish when routines change. For performers who spent their lives measured by applause, that realization can be terrifying. Tyler's willingness to explore life beyond constant performance reflects courage. Rarely acknowledged. Fans have begun sharing memories rather than demands. Stories of first concerts, emotional soundtracks, moments when Tyler's voice carried them through difficult times. That collective remembrance has softened the weight of the news. It reminds everyone that what matters most has already been given. Another key truth emerging is that Tyler's influence was never confined to physical presence. His voice shaped culture, fashion, attitude, and emotion. That influence doesn't end with fewer appearances. It continues through memory and meaning. This phase has also sparked conversations about aging in the spotlight. Too often, society demands eternal youth from artists while denying them the dignity of evolution. Tyler's journey challenges that expectation. It suggests that stepping back can be as powerful as stepping forward. What makes this moment especially poignant is its honesty. There's no attempt to disguise reality or dramatize it for attention. That restraint builds trust. It allows fans to process change without feeling manipulated or misled. Ultimately, this part of the story isn't about what Steven Tyler can no longer do. It's about what he's choosing to protect: his health, his voice, and the meaning of a lifetime's work. Those choices don't diminish his legend. They complete it. The shocking part of this news isn't that things are changing. It's that change is being met with grace instead of denial. And that may be the most powerful statement of all. In the final understanding of this moment. What stands out most about Steven Tyler isn't what he has stepped away from, but what he has chosen to honor. After a lifetime spent challenging limits, this phase reflects something deeper than performance. It reflects awareness. Awareness of time, of the body, and of the responsibility that comes with legacy. Tyler's decision to slow down reframes the idea of strength. For decades, strength meant endurance, singing through pain, touring through exhaustion, and proving that nothing could stop him. Now strength looks different. It looks like knowing when preservation matters more than persistence. That shift is not defeat. It is evolution. One of the quiet truths emerging is how much Tyler values the connection he built with his audience. He understands that fans don't just want more, they want honesty. By choosing transparency over spectacle, he offers respect instead of reassurance. That respect deepens trust rather than weakening it. There's also a sense of closure forming, not as an ending but as completion. A career measured not by how long it lasted, but by how fully it was lived. Tyler didn't play it safe. He didn't ration himself. He gave everything vocally, emotionally, physically. And that fullness gives meaning to this pause. As fans process the news, many are recognizing that legends aren't defined by endless output. They're defined by impact. Steven Tyler's impact is already written into the culture. Songs that shaped eras, performances that became memories, a voice that carried generations. None of that disappears with fewer appearances. This moment also highlights something rarely discussed: dignity in transition. Too often, artists are pressured to stay visible at any cost. Tyler's choice pushes back against that expectation. It says that stepping back can be an act of self-respect rather than surrender. Those close to him describe a man at peace, not withdrawn, but grounded. Creativity still exists. Curiosity remains alive. The difference is intention. Energy is now directed with care, not urgency. That shift doesn't silence his voice. It protects it. Perhaps the most meaningful truth is that Tyler's legacy was never about noise alone. It was about vulnerability, about letting people see the mess, the recovery, the resilience. This phase continues that honesty. It shows that growth doesn't stop when the spotlight dims. The shocking part of this story isn't that something isn't good. It's that reality has been met with maturity instead of denial. That acceptance carries its own power. In the end, Steven Tyler's story isn't closing, it's settling. Settling into meaning rather than motion. And for an artist who spent his life in full volume, that quiet may be the most honest note he's ever chosen to leave behind.